Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, July 12th, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. Hey, Bob, welcome. Welcome. You're number one. Welcome, Polina. Polina Adisi. Hope I pronounced your name correctly. Welcome. And Frankie, welcome. And to anyone who is listening over on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, welcome to you. Hey, DMAC, welcome. Welcome, Crazy Train. And I'm going to stop the music here. And Crazy, before I get started, Ba and I were actually just talking about you. If you could please reach out to us on Friendly Differences so we can have your contact information. We actually would like for you to be on our show Saturday. On Saturday. Our show on Saturday is going to be about disability, and it's going to kind of pick up from what we were talking about on my show last week. But we would love, love, love for you to be on the show. Okay. And Ba, you see that? She says, I'm going to email you today. So we're going to hold you to it. Hold you to it. So, all right. So we're going to get started. And let me just make sure my phone is turned down. Okay. Okay, so today I want to talk about people don't know wasted time when it's happening. How much time have we wasted we can't get back? And when I say you don't know is wasted time when it's happening, some people and it's interesting because I'm a people watcher. Okay, when I'm out walking my dog, if I'm at the airport, if I'm at the market, if I'm just sitting in my car, and if I'm sitting in my car and I have to make a phone call, um, uh, or if I'm about to get out of the car and I just look up and I see someone or some people, whatever. um, a lot of people waste time. And at the same time, we can say, what is wasted time? Is wasted time when you're not productive? Is wasted time when you're sitting on the sofa and just playing a video game? Some people may not see that as wasted time. Is wasted time when we're surfing the internet? Is it while we're watching TV? Is it when you're just sitting in your car? What is wasted time? And how much time have we wasted that we cannot get back? So you know, and when I go back and I look at how much time I have wasted, there are some things that I've done where oh boy, I have, definitely wasted time. And I'm going to say this, and I'm pretty sure Ba's ears are going to prick when I say this. I find myself wasting time when I go round and round with people, whether it be a debate, an argument, whatever, and no one is budging. To me, that is a waste of time. So, um, okay, and Crazy says, well, you can't get any of it back. I mean, you can't. So that's where I want to start. What do you consider wasted time? And welcome. Let's see who just popped in. Welcome, Power Girl. So uh hold on for a second. I'm sorry, I had to respond to a text. I apologize. That's unprofessional. Okay, so what is wasted time? And let's see. I agree with you. Actually, you should listen to learn, not to argue. And even what crazy, even when you're listening to learn and you keep going round and round, that merry-go-round just keeps going on and on and on, and there's no off point. It's like that's when I just have to jump off and risk breaking my leg because I can't stay on that merry-go-round anymore. Okay. Gotta agree to disagree. Yes, yes, yes. But some people have a hard time with that. But anyway, that's that's another show. All right. I'm opening up a can of worms here. So, but anyway, what do you guys consider wasted time? Okay. Because for me, I think playing video games all day is a waste of time. But there are some people who play video games and they make money. You know, if you gamble, is that a waste of time? Is it a waste of time if you're making money while you are doing it? Um, for instance, people who play poker. You have people who are all they do. That's what their that's what their job is to play poker. Some people make a lot of money doing it. Is that a waste of time? For some people, it could be. You know, it's sitting on your front porch, you know, watching the sunset. Is that a waste? Is that a waste of time? So let's see. Crazy says it's a waste of time to be in school without a goal, in my opinion. Okay. All right. So when you say without a goal, now I'm assuming you're talking about higher learning. Here comes crazy. Welcome, welcome. No, I cannot sing.
Is it working? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, it actually worked this time. How about that? Um, because I was on lunch and I just came off lunch, so I'm about to see what kind of rec work is. So yeah, I just wanted to chime in on what I said because that's triggered people in the past. They're like, "What do you mean? You know, I'm going to school to blah blah." I was like, "Okay," but what I'm saying is, like I told my son, okay, I didn't go to college. I went to a trade school, a technical trade school. Okay. And the reason I did that is because I knew I had started a career early on or something that I thought it was going to be my goal career. And then I switched gears sometime after that. So I went to a school specifically designed to give me the knowledge I needed to pursue that career. Right. I personally think that spending money, first of all, college is damn expensive to just be spending money on being in a dorm, going to classes, and you don't know what your major is, you're not sure what you're going to do, you haven't had a career, or like you haven't even really made a plan for it, because you, let's say you spend 2 years 4 years at a college, and then you're like, well, you know what, I really don't want to do that, but now you got to take another 2 years because the goal you finally figured out, or the career you finally decided that you wanted to chase, now requires other schooling. So you just wasted 4 years without a plan. And for me, that's a big deal. Like I've had
But
plenty of
crazy.
friends say that.
Okay, but if you're 18 years old, you're coming out of high school, and you know, for some people, not all, some parents say you either go to school or you get a job. All right. So when you're 18, 19, 20, even 21, do you really know what you want to do? I mean, there's just so many things that are out there
Well,
that, you know, you try this, you try this. Well, I want to go to school for this. But then for some people, halfway through, they change their major, and they study something else. And what's
Okay. So,
and let me throw one more thing at you. So what if you go to school and you want to be an attorney, okay, and you graduate,
mhm.
you practice law for I don't know how many years, but then you say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I think I want to be a doctor. People have done that too. They have switched their course, and as we all know, since COVID, everybody's become something in their basement. So you know,
Okay. So that's three different scenarios. If you're young, right, and not every young person has a goal. You kind of you should have a little bit of. God, this is so tough because schools are actually they're not geared towards that shit anymore. When I went to
no,
school, we had mechanics and wood shop and like all these things that like you kind of got to test while you were in high school to see what you like. For me, it was mechanics. I was set on a path to be a car mechanic. But here's the thing, like I when I say it's a waste of time to go through like 2 or 4, maybe not 2 years. And maybe it depends also on, okay, maybe your age, right? If you're younger, you could take that time and waste it. But what are you doing during that schooling? Are you literally just doing it to waste time, or are you actually focusing on something or trying to get a goal? You see what I'm saying? Like, are you headed towards something? It's okay to change majors. It's not okay to go to 4 years and pay all that money. You wasted all that time unless that schooling also leads into whatever you picked next. I'm
okay,
not. It's that's tough because there's a shit ton of variables, obviously, but um, I knew that was going to be a little bit of a trigger. Like, I'm not saying the schooling is a waste of time. However, the time you spent in the school, and if you just took a bunch of crap classes just to take crap classes and be in school for 4 years, and then all of a sudden your major was one thing, and then the major or then the goal that you pick after that has nothing to do with it. That means that nothing you just did is worth any you literally just wasted. That's a lot of time. 4 years is a lot of time. I don't care if you're 18 or 35.
okay. Well, let me throw this at you. Some cultures pretty much want to dictate to their children what they're going to go to school for.
Hmm.
So let's say that your parents, tell you you're going to be a doctor. You don't want to be a doctor, but that's what your parents tell you that you're going to do. So you go to school, you become this doctor, you're not happy. Is that a waste of time?
Um, I'm gonna say no, and the reason I'm gonna say that is because even if you didn't want to follow that path, if you still succeeded in that path and you have the money and you have your life straight and you're stable and you have, because maybe later on you change paths, but all the time that led up to that you still had a foundation to change paths, right? Your parents set you down a success path. You took that because out of respect for culture, whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
may be,
Mm-hmm.
and you still made a successful lifestyle until you decided you didn't want to do it anymore. I don't think that's a waste of time. You got your money, you might have benefits, you might have been able to help your parents, you help people or whatever it is, doctors, lawyers, whatever, you know what I mean? So you didn't waste your time. I mean, you still
Okay, I'm gonna throw something else at
were
you, but
successful. I don't know.
I just want to read what Bob said. Bob says hobbies can become a good source of income, and we also need hobbies as a way of distressing. And DMAC says wasting time is what relative to the person. I thought that was interesting.
Yep.
And Bob, thank you for responding to crazy in the email. And
Oh yeah, I
okay,
sent an email.
okay,
Hmm.
okay. So let me ask this. Okay, so you've have become this doctor. You um, are successful. You may not be super rich, but you have, you're okay. Everything's fine. But you really don't want to be this doctor. You never did. Um,
Hmm.
let's say you wanted to be an actor. So you said, okay, I'm not going to be a doctor anymore. I want to go be an actor or whatever you want to do. But things are not going as well as you would hope, but it's something that you're just going to keep plugging away at. You're going to keep, you've given yourself, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 years. If I don't make it within 2 years, then I'll go back to being a doctor. But in those 2 years, you are struggling, but you're happy at what you're doing. You know that you have to put in a lot of work, whatever. And again, I'm just using acting as I mean, it could be
Hmm.
anything. Okay, but you're happy just plugging away. If you want to build houses, you're going to that work site every day. You're not working all the time, but when you are working, you're happy. And every time you think about being that doctor again, where you were making money and you were successful at it, you get depressed. Are you wasting your time when you walked away trying to do what you really want to do? And welcome, Juju.
I don't think so because personally, I don't want to ever live a whole life of misery. I do agree that if you have to do something to make sure that you're stable to be able to pursue your dreams, beautiful. But if you are miserable doing that, that will always be a job for you. It will never be something that you're happy with. You'll always, like you're always going to be like, damn, I wish I had that. Damn, I wish I had, what if, or I could have, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think someone getting something stable until they want to chase a dream that they had, and they know that they could possibly do it or just drop it, even if you don't have the means and you're just like, you know what, I'm going to chase my dream. I don't think so. Because if you had a purpose, you still had a purpose, you still did what you wanted to an extent. You really were using that original career to make sure you were stable. Maybe you stayed in it a little too long because you were afraid to, take that leap of faith or whatever, or you couldn't financially, whatever the case may be. But you were still, it's not, that goes back to actually what, now my brain stopped on me, what DMAC said, that it's subjective. It's towards the person. Does that person feel like that was a waste of time because they did that and they could have spent more time on this? But how do you know that? Because how do you know that if you didn't pursue that other thing that it would have failed miserably? And then what? I mean, so I don't think anything that's successful that brings you stability in your life is a waste of time. Now, if it makes you miserable, you should obviously figure out how to resolve that. But I don't think that it's a waste of time if it's stable and stuff. Now, if you're going down a path where you're constantly financially unstable, constantly mentally unstable, constantly that's a waste of time to chase something without some kind of foundation behind it or whatever, or support system or whatever it is, because you're going to keep spinning your wheels because you didn't have a goal or you didn't have a mindset to get, like, there wasn't a plan. So wasted time. When I heard that, when I heard you say that, I'm going to tell you that I was like, that went all kinds of directions in my life, in my head, because I feel like I've wasted a shit ton of time on a lot of stuff, and it has nothing to do with necessarily work, but just life in general. But that's why I said you can't get any of it back ever, because you can't go back and undo something that's already done. Period.
And I think through life, we all waste time, and that's why
Hmm.
I wanted to know, what do you consider wasted time? Like you have some people who don't see their parents, and someone may say, well, you need to see mom and dad, because they're getting older, and um you're not going to be able to get that time back if you don't see them. um is that wasting time if you never went to see your parents and then they pass? Is that wasted time? um you
I
know
actually that happened to me. My I wasn't I was a single parent household. It was my dad, right? And we weren't best friends. So I'm gonna tell you that I moved as far away from my of my family as I possibly could. So I lived always like 2,000 miles from them, and I would go see him whenever I could or whatever. But I didn't have the money to be going back and forth. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see him before he passed away because I got in a car wreck, and that killed my plans to go see him, and he passed away before I could get out of my problems recovering from the car accident and whatever and whatnot. And then I had to look back and think, how many times did I actually have that I could have been there and I wasn't there? But then I had to weigh in, how many times did we talk? We talked on the phone often. We knew we weren't, like I said, we weren't like best friends. Loved my dad. He loved me. Great support system, whatever. It wasn't always ideal. So I actually thought about that too, as far as wasted time on seeing people when you have the opportunity. But what is an opportunity? I didn't have the money to go back and forth, and people are like, well, you could have lived closer. Well, I'm a grown ass adult. I'm going to live where I want to live, regardless of where my parents live. And as long as I stay in touch, I feel like it's not really wasted time. I'm not saying that, he also could have come to see me, right? So, I mean,
No,
uh,
you make a good point, because I moved 2,000 miles away from my parents. And when my father passed away, I wish I had. I mean, I did go back and forth. I did go home, back and forth. But when my father passed away, I totally lost it. I mean, I
me
totally
too.
lost it. And people have said, um, what you just said. Well, why did you move so far away from home? D Mac, I sent you the invite because popped up. Um, but but people said the same thing. Why did you move so far away from home? And like you said, I'm a grown ass woman.
I'm a grown ass adult.
I can
Yeah.
move wherever I want. But by me, even if I were still in the same city, there was still that possibility that, I mean, yeah, I would have had the opportunity to see my parents more, especially my dad, but at the same time, there's a big chance that when he passed away, I was not going to be there. I mean, my
Right.
my, my sister, she lived what, 20 miles away. She was not there when he passed. So, you know, um,
Exactly. My sister too,
right.
actually. That's crazy.
So it's like, um, either way, I would have lost it. I would have lost it if I was 2,000 miles away. I would have lost it if I was 2 miles away.
Exactly. Exactly. True.
So, again, um, I do agree with what D Max says. Wasted time is relative to the person.
Person. Yeah. Hmm.
So should our parents tell us, or should someone else tell you, or should we tell our kids, you're wasting your time, or you're
I don't
wasting or you're
think so.
wasting your life? I mean, yeah, if you're doing drugs and you're hanging out on the
Oh,
corner,
well.
and yeah, well, yes, whatever. But again, I go back to, if your parent tells you either get a job or go to school, and if you're 18, more than likely the job that you're going to get is not going to make you, $100,000 plus a year. You may end up
Sure.
working in Walmart or something. So then it's like, do you get stuck in those jobs because you get comfortable? So is that a waste of time?
That's a really good question.
Because
Um,
I know
you
people
know,
who
yeah.
have done that, who it's like their parents gave them that alternative. They weren't sure what major they wanted, but they ended up being stuck in these jobs, and they're, for 10 years. It's like you're still there while everyone else has moved on, and they do that. I wish I would have, coulda. But when you get these ultimatums, either go to work, go to school, or move out, and you're 18, what do you do?
Guess what? I'll tell you what I did, because I had that ultimatum. Okay. I moved out of my house when I was 17. Never went back. Okay. And of course, I thought I knew everything. And I did go to work for Walmart and fast food places and stuff like that. But you know what? I knew that that wasn't my ultimate goal. And listen, at 18 years old, your parents still should have guidance for you, but you still, because like I started telling my son, listen, you're coming up on adulthood here, buddy. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to try to guide you in the right direction. It's up to you. So if you're 18, you go to work for Walmart and or any job, okay, that you consider a dead end. And I mean dead end means that you're not moving up in the ranks, you're not trying to, it's whatever. You're
Hmm.
not trying to do whatever. When I worked for Walmart and Venture, I actually ended up being management in those places. So like that was my goal, was to move up no matter what I was doing, because I knew that the next thing would be better. This is the experience, the next thing is going to be better. This is what I'm working towards. I can't do that right now. But as an independent adult now, because now I'm 18, I have to do that myself. So if you waste time, if you I'm just gonna say, if you waste time after 18 going bouncing job to job, dead end stuff, and you get comfortable, that's because you got comfortable. And I've said this to people, and they hate it when I say that at some point you have to become the adult and be responsible for your own life path and choices. And it can't be based on, whether your parents, because at 18 your parents can say whatever they want. You're a damn adult, okay? And you need to start thinking along that path. They shouldn't,
Right, but if you're
type of thing.
18 and you just graduated from high school, it's not like you have, and I'm playing both sides here, it's not like you have the funds to go and get your own apartment and start paying
No, of
utilities
course
and
not.
rent, whatever. So it's like, okay, um, I'm not sure what I want to do. And then for some parents, when they say either go to school or get a job, they're not even helping you with school. So you're still having to hustle to figure out how you're going to pay, for school.
Well,
So either way, you're still this 18-year-old person who's never, really been on their own. So again, do you get stuck?
well, that's tough. The only reason that's tough for me to answer is because, look, I grew up really early in my home. I was driving by the time I was 11. Okay. It was like, you understand, my dad, 3 jobs, single parent. I was the only child. I was really just grown up way too early, considering. So when I reached my level, I left my house because me and my dad were probably going to fist fight when I was 17. I was like, dude, I got to get out of here. Me and you are going to beat each other to death, like one day, because we just butted heads so much. We're exactly alike, whatever. But I'm going to tell you that he had already given me the fundamental tools to be able to make life choices, to um, not make stupid decisions, stuff like that. And so that also, and we'll go back to, I don't like to blame parents. Okay, I don't ever 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 put people's choices as an adult on a parent. But if at 18 years old, like, I was a hustler, that's what I did. I left and I never looked back, and I figured out how to get what I wanted to get. So that's why it's tough to answer that question, because what I did and what somebody else did in my exact same age is totally different. You know what I mean? Like, a prime example, my neighbor across the street, they were a little kind of stuck up kind of family, I guess. I don't know. We were middle class, right? And they were like upper class. They had more money, and they were, they kind of looked down on people, whatever. And their son is the exact same age as me, born on the same day, same hospital, everything. It was kind of crazy. But um he ended up, like, I ended up, God, this is so hard to explain. It's because it was two different dynamics. He wasn't ready to be on his own at 17. I was. So how do you gauge wasted time based on someone's readiness to be an adult, right?
And that's
So
and that's and that was my point. So if you're 18 years old and your parents give you, those choices, either go to school, get a job, or move out. You're 18. You're not used to doing all the adult things that, come with getting a job and moving out.
yeah, but why
So
not though? Because I guess that seems really late for me. For some, that to me, that seems really late for a kid not to know how to get a job. Because and when my son came of age, and I say of age to me was when he started being a teenager, I was like, look, man, you got to start learning how to do this stuff. You got to learn how to drive. You got to learn how, because I wanted him to be pre-prepared. Now, some kids don't
right,
have that
no,
availability. I understand that, but
I understand the whole, driving, and you have to make sure that you teach them how to manage their money and things like that.
Something.
But
Yeah.
still,
Some.
when you are 18 years old and you get out of school and your parents give you that ultimatum, every 18-year-old is
Mm.
not prepared
Oh,
to go
absolutely not.
out on their own. And again, like you said, if you go to school and you come out, or you change up what you want to do, and you spend four years, you consider that a waste of time. But at the same time,
Partially, yes.
okay, but at the same time, is it a waste of time if I don't go to school and I'm 18 and I'm like, oh shit, my mother and father are telling me either to get a job or get out, or go to school. I don't want to go to school. I'm just going to go down to my local market and I'm just going to get this little job, and I'm only going to do it for like 6 months until I figure out. Next thing I know, 5 years later, I'm still working at this market. Did I waste my time? And
Yes.
wait, hold on. And before I answer that, I just want to read. I read some of these comments. DMAC says, if I stay stable my whole life and was never able to to chase anything because I was caring for my sick mother, was that time wasted? And then you tell your kids about time wasting because you're trying to prevent them from making the time wasting mistakes that you did. Oh, and Jester says hello, solid. Yeah, because I got on him yesterday. Okay, and DMAX says, crazy town, your level of maturity was higher than most. Also, many times females' maturity is higher than many males.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so again, so let's go to what DMAX says. He says, if I stay stable my whole life and was never able to chase anything because I was caring for my sick mother, was that time wasted?
Do you consider that time wasted? I mean, I would ask the person, because how could I answer that? I could never answer that question because I have never been in that position. I personally, if I had to be in that position, I would not consider that a waste of time, because you were caring for somebody. That's something that you chose to do. You know what I mean? That is something that you, whatever. I have to back up just a little bit because I had a thought on what you had said about the 18-year-old with the school. I just want to point out, I want to go back to my original statement on that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is if you're 18 and let's say you get that ultimatum, and I'm gonna throw out variables because they mess me up, you know that. So at 18, you either get a job, go to school, whatever it is, and you spend 4 years. Okay, let's just take 4 years as a thing, whether it's a job or school. In that 4 years, if you didn't at least do something to come to a next level goal, I don't care if it's in your job. You could work at a market, you could become the damn general manager of that place. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're working towards something. If you spend 4 years in a dead end school, because you can do that, you can waste
Mm-hmm.
school
Mm-hmm.
altogether. You could take stuff that makes no sense. You could waste 4 years in a thing. That's what I consider wasted time. If you wasted time and just fluffing off for 4 years and then you're like, oh, well, and now you got to take another 4 years of school, you did. You wasted time not even caring about leveling up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
So
that's just on that. But anyways, I'm sorry. So I had to get that out of my head.
all right.
Um,
So let me ask this. I want to go back to DMAC and the whole family
yes.
thing. Okay. So in some cultures, and even you know just in some families, um, some cultures say the older daughter, older son, whatever, they get married first.
Hmm.
And they do have it where literally you could be in love with someone can ask you to marry you, but if your older brother, older sister hasn't gotten married, then you aren't getting married. Okay.
Oh,
and
okay.
and there
Hmm.
are some people, in fact I know two people like this where they're they were the youngest in their family, and the mother was very very needy, very very, oh, someone has to stay here with me,
Mm,
whatever. And the other siblings had gotten married, moved out, whatever, and started their own families. But they kept coming back to these to the youngest people, saying, well, you're the youngest and you aren't married, so you should, live with mom, blah, 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 blah. And one of the people that I know got into a knockdown drag out with their family member and with their siblings, with their mother there, basically saying, I've wasted my entire time or wasted my entire life so far taking care of you. It is your turn to ask, so and so and so and so to help. And then, basically told her other siblings, you all need to step out, because she was basically done. Is that, was that wasting time? Even though it is your mother or your father or your grandmother, whatever, but basically you're being pushed to take on a responsibility and you're not able to live your life. Is that wasting your time?
Okay, so that's a little tough, and I actually had that. Nearly everything you bring up, I can, because I only really speak on experience. To be honest with you, I don't go outside a realm of something I don't know or can't answer. But my grandmother was like that. My grandma was extremely needy. She used to keep me out of school all the time, and my dad would get mad as hell. Okay, now she had 5 daughters. One of them was at her side all the time. The rest of them were just like, yeah, well, you're there, so I don't have to be, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And then, like, it became a knockdown, drag out, blowout, and tempers got heated, stuff like that. How do you even label that a waste of time, other than it is selfish of your parent if okay, and there's so many variables, and that's why I can't really like branch off, but you my grandmother could take care of herself for the most part. She just didn't want to be alone, and that was really selfish of her. I felt like I love my grandma to death. Okay, I loved her to death. I was broken when she passed, but one of her daughters constantly had to be by her side because she would cry about it. You know what I mean? And then when her daughter was there, she would cry about all the other ones not being there. So you're not even giving the person that's there with you the thankfulness, the gratefulness, the compassion. You know what I'm saying? You're basically, and if they're not there, when they come back, you're bitching at them about the time that they're not there instead of enjoying the time that they are there. So I do consider that a waste of time. If every time I see you, I've had friends like this. Every time I see you, you're crying because you don't see me often, but you already knew I was like that, and I don't have to be here because we're all adults. I'm not going to keep coming seeing you if every time I see you or we talk, it's always a problem.
Okay, but are you saying that it's not a waste of time because it is a family member?
No, it's not a waste of time. No, it is a waste of time to. That's a vicious cycle, and that's selfishness, and that's somebody just being needy, not wanting to be alone, and they're not going to let you live the life that you want to live. How do you consider that a waste of time? Like how would you how would if man, that's so tough, like, because I'm not a because it's family it's right person. I don't believe that. If you're toxic to me, and I don't care, and I'll cut you off, family or not. But um I think the wasted time part in that for me is the wasted arguments, the constant bickering. You're mad because I'm not here, but when I'm here, you're not even happy.
But
That's a
okay,
waste of time.
but take away the arguing and what have you. I'm specifically saying, if you're constantly calling me, or if I want to move out of the house, or I want to move out of state, or I want to take this job, but you
Hmm.
are trying to guilt trip me. And again, and even if, let's take the siblings out, let's say,
Hmm.
it's just you, but you're trying to guilt trip me. And again, I have a life to lead. So if you live for the next 40 years and you want me to be around you for the next 40 years taking care of me, because this has happened,
I
you
know,
know,
I know.
where people have literally, it's like you wake up and you're 70 and you're like, well, damn, you're looking back at your yearbook and you had a crush on so and so, and they asked you to marry them and move away, but your mother or your father or whomever was like, oh no, I need
But
you.
whose fault is that?
It is your fault, but at the same time, can I say that I wasted 20, 30,
Sure.
even if it was a year, I wasted time on you because that is time I cannot get back. And even though it sounds harsh, because you are talking
It's
about
true
a
though.
family member,
So
I mean,
what?
I wasted my time taking care of you when I could have been doing something else. Welcome, Crucible. So,
In that case, yes. But you have to take responsibility for that wasted time because you wasted your own time. Because I've had family like that and I had to, well, not me, and I'm not hard. I don't have a problem saying no. I'm just going to tell you, I don't have a problem being harsh, blunt, straight to the point, whatever, none of that. So I've seen it happen to other people. And yes, that can be a waste of time, right? Because you wasted all those years probably on someone. It's more of a waste of time for me. What I'm saying is if they're ungrateful about it. Now, if you wanted to do that, if that's what you set out in your life to do, okay, fine. You wanted to take care of your whoever, best friend, mother, husband, whoever, it doesn't matter. And you don't consider that a waste of time, hey, so be it. Maybe they weren't self-made, all that other stuff, so be it. But that's where you go back to what DMAX said. It's on the individual at that point. That's a loaded question because um depending on the situation and the person, because some people will tell you, I know some people that take care of people all the time, their people, their family, stuff like that. And they're just like, yeah, I'm fine with it. I didn't waste no. I still do what I want to do. I still take care of them. I still do what I want to do. So they don't consider that a waste of time. But they also didn't let it waste their time. Does that make sense?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But and one thing that I will say, crazy, I am with you. I do not have a problem saying no, because when you become one of those people who don't want to say no, and you don't want to hurt someone's feelings and stuff, they take advantage of you, then all of a sudden you get pissed off if they did something. It's like, if I have no
Mm-hmm.
problem saying no, and I have no problem hearing the word no, because it's only
Yep,
a
me too.
word, and if you can't
That's
deal
right.
with it, that's on you. But I mean, because again, we've all wasted time. We've all, in some
Mm-hmm.
part in our life, whatever, we have wasted time, and it's not time that we can get back. And
Right.
even if it's something, you know you your kid wanted you to do something with them, and you said, okay, give me an hour, and within that hour, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, and then they went to sleep or whatever. That's time that you can't get back. I mean,
That's right.
you know
Mm-hmm.
that I did that to my son. you know um um and I learned from it because I saw the look on his face when I didn't do it, and how hurt he was. And it was something so simple where I could have just literally just stopped doing what I was doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But and in jobs and stuff, you have wasted your time. But is it ever anyone's fault? Can you ever get to the point where you can blame someone if
If they
if
waste your time,
if they waste your time? Can you ever get to that point? I mean, is it always on you, or can you ever get to the point where you can say, you wasted my time?
well, I already answered that, but I'm going to repeat what I said because I don't. It wasn't that question because that's a really great question, by the way. You can, first of all, nobody can do anything to you that you don't let them do, right?
Hmm.
Okay, and I believe that. I thoroughly believe that. But if I thought you had genuine intentions, and I took my time to help you with whatever your genuine intentions were, and then I find out it was bullshit, you wasted my time.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That was said a little venomous because people do that to me often and it makes me really angry.
Okay. All right. That is a very good point. Very, very good point. Here, let me look. Let's see. Yes, D-Mac. Coda is a movie that I do want to see. It's definitely on my must see list. And then D-Mac also says, only can blame yourself because you are in charge of your time.
Hmm.
Okay, so then even though someone you found out that it was what was bullshit, is it really their fault? Or like D-Mac
Yep,
just
it's still their
said,
fault.
even though you're in charge of your time?
Yeah, but you made a decision to give your time to somebody. I'm taking time out of my day because you told me this shit was important, right? You told me that this was detrimental or whatever it is. Because when I'm gonna tell you if I'm about to hand my time to somebody, you better have a damn good reason because I'm busy. I'm busy all the time. I'm always doing something. Okay. And like so, like, if that's where I'm still going to take the accountability, right? That I believe my accountability on that is not for wasted time. My accountability on that is trusting that you would not waste my time. That means that you're never, ever going to be able to be trusted again. The next time you tell me, that's like the boy that cried wolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next time you tell me something, now you're going to almost have to have a business case even to get my time. So I'm not going to waste my time again. So that's a lesson learned. But that person did waste your time because you wasted my time and my trusting and everything else that it was that whatever it was that now took time out of my day to do, and you were ungrateful or took my kindness for weakness because my kindness, people taking my kindness for weakness is not the last thing someone's going to remember if they do that. That's not what they're going to remember about me. So that's why I'm saying, like, that's when you could go to the other person and be like, yeah, you wasted my time. And that's the truth. I let you, but you definitely wasted my time.
Okay.
But
So
then you don't let them again, right? You just, well, my bad.
so let me ask this. Do you think, or I'll put it like this, why do you think there are some people who hold on before I ask this question, let me read what DMAX says. The positive intent comment does play a factor. I know that if I tune into your show, it's not going to be it's not going to be loaded with people who are stark raving mad. Thank you,
Oh,
DMAC. Even though we've had a couple of people who are stark raving mad, but
it
thankfully,
happens. You're a human. We get
yeah.
emotions.
So yeah, so dang, I forgot what I was about to say. Um,
Mm,
oh, okay. So why do you think there are some people who literally purposely set out to waste other people's time? They know damn good
because
and
they're
well.
miserable.
Okay, all right. Is it
Misery
because,
loves
and
company.
no pun intended, is it because they have too much time on their hands and they don't
Yep.
know what to do?
Yep. A lot of times it is because I'll use myself as an example. I am really bad with idle time. Idle hands make bad decisions, and I've always said this. Like I'm I'm not. I don't look for trouble or anything. Like it's not that kind of thing. When I was younger, maybe just to get into some shit or whatever. You know what I mean? But um, people that it's without shaming anybody, right? For not having hobbies or whatever. I've tried to take on a shit ton of them, and I've quit them all. But if you have too much time on your hands and you feel the need to waste somebody else's time, you're a miserable person. Like you see me doing good, but you're gonna come over here and waste my time. Come on, really? I'm not the person to do that kind of shit to because that's just. But some people feed on that and they're going to leech on to somebody that they can waste their time with them. Hey, if I'm going to be miserable and waste my time, I'm going to take you down that same road with me. And guess whose fault that is? It's not theirs. It's the person who followed them down that path because you can't tell me you don't know when someone's wasting your time. So,
So if you have a hobby, um, do you think it's better to have a hobby even though you may not really be into that hobby as opposed to just doing nothing?
um,
I mean, is that
no,
is that a waste of time?
yes. I think anything that makes you miserable that you don't like that you have to force yourself to do is a waste of time
Okay.
because and that's I'm speaking again just on my own what my opinions are and how I see the way that I handle my time because I haven't always handled my time properly. I've wasted a lot of time doing a lot of stupid things. You know what I mean? But then sometimes I also look back on that stuff and think, was it Some of it sins, some of it, yes, there's wasted time, things that, the consequences of my actions wasted my time, stuff like that. So like that's why that particular that's a really loaded. That's why I would like your shows because your questions are super loaded because you just
Because
like
I mean,
it's
no, because
perfect for
no,
me.
well, I mean, because I just like to know what people think, and I know, and I try, I don't always succeed. I try to play both sides, because there are two sides to everything, and I just like to hear what people have to say. And crazy, when I throw stuff out, you throw it back, and D-Max, I've been paying attention to what he's saying, and I mean, everybody always has something to say, so thank you. But
Yeah, no, I mean I think it's wonderful. I like that you can. Well, I don't always get to express everything because I think a lot of people think that my way I think is a little too harsh, and I mean because I spent, let's put it this way, I spent a lot of wasted time learning not to waste my time. Does that make sense?
mhm, mhm, mhm. And
I was a
it's
DJ.
let's see. Okay, D-Max says, I don't think all people want to waste others' time. They think their opinions are so right that they have to convince you because they
Sure.
can't be wrong. I'm laughing. I'm laughing at that. I am I'm laughing at that because there are two people in this room right now who always try to convince me. And it's like you go back and forth, and it's like I'm not being convinced, and that's like just a waste of my time, but
Hmm.
again, when you said that that some people think that you're harsh, and I've been told that a lot. You come off harsh, whatever. And it's not so much that I mean to come off harsh, but it's also, it's like you ask me a question, and usually I tell people up front, this is how I am.
Me too.
So I'm telling you. So if you get upset with me down the road because I come
Your
up
fault.
across too harsh, that's right. It becomes my fault, but I told you. And
No, it's their fault because I warned you. I
right,
warned
right,
you.
right. So it's like, and that's why, to me, I do see it as a waste of time for me to have to, okay, whatever. I'm going to tell you this is bump, 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 bump. Do you want to do this?
Hmm.
No. Would you like to do this? Yes. I don't like, like
I'm a matter of fact person. Very
yes,
matter of
yes,
fact.
and to me, when, for me, it's a waste of my time if I'm not,
Hmm.
and my patience, because literally sometimes when I'm talking to people, it's like, eh, I get to the point where, how in Charlie Brown, where the adults were always like wonk wonk wonk, that's what I start to hear. And no, I'm being totally serious. And
I'm
some
just
and
laughing because I know.
no, because and sometimes I can literally be looking at you, and we're going through this thing, and I am literally thinking about something else, like, okay, I need to call this person, I need to do this, and I need to do that. And then when I literally see your mouth not moving anymore, then I'll go, uh-huh, or okay, whatever. Because it's like I've checked out, because it's wasting my time being in a situation where 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 I'm going to go, or where I'm not going to go. And again, that sounds harsh, but I told you
No, but
how. And it's
we can
like, how
agree
many
to
times do you have to
disagree.
how many times do you have to repeat stuff, because again,
That's right.
that's a waste of time for me.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And I would say that it was me wasting time making the argument, even though I've already put my foot down. If I'll stop talking. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'll stop talking. If I can't, if you can't have, I'll talk to anybody about things. I learn to argue. That means that listening to not respond to you, but I'm listening to absorb whatever you're taking. Because, like, I don't agree with everybody that's been
Okay, you are breaking up crazy. You're breaking up.
uh,
Okay, while Crazy's getting her mic together, I'm just going to read what Juju says. Juju says a hobby is an activity that you enjoy doing when you have personal time. A passion is a goal or activity that motivates you. Interesting. Okay. And DMAC says people really want your answer, but they just want to hear it a bit softer, or a bit less. Less harsh. I'm assuming
less
that,
direct.
you know, but you know what though? Sorry. And Ba is laughing because he says, I make that sound effect all the time. And I think of the teacher in Charlie Brown. Yes. I mean, it's like that wonk, 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 so, uh, okay. So,
I don't know if it's fixed or not,
yes,
but
yes,
can you hear
yes,
me
yes, it
now?
is.
Okay.
Yes.
So I don't remember. I think what I was saying is that I will stop talking because right there, and you're right, and I agree with you 100% that having an argument without a resolution between the two is a waste of time. And if I have to keep going in circles with you, first of all, I'm not going to. I might once just to see where it goes, like if I can even pull you out of. But at some point, I'll be like, hey, yeah, we're done talking because you're not listening to me to listen, to absorb, to talk to me. You are listening to see what you're gonna say next, and you already think
but
you're
that
right,
but that
regardless of what I
but
say.
that goes both ways because both people
Mm-hmm.
can think that they're right. My point
Sure.
is if no one is budging, or you see that the other person is not budging, let it go, because at that point,
Exactly.
and when I say I'm done, or I stop talking, or I leave the room, or I'm just not saying anything, and people may take that as, oh well, you're
That's
wrong, and
rude.
you just don't want to admit it. No, I'm tired of talking about it, and I'm done. I'm wasting my time talking to
Yeah,
you. And when I could, we could be talking about something else, or we could be, or I could be doing, something else. I'm just looking at Bob, but
well,
but
yeah, if you try to change the subject and they keep bringing it back to the same
yes,
shit, I'm gonna
yes,
be like,
yes,
yo, why,
yes.
why?
Why? You're right, right. So again, like D Max says, is wasted time relative to the person. And if I
Sure.
am with someone who, and let's not even say that we're going back and forth. Let's just say that I could be out with someone and they could be bored shitless. Okay. You know
Hmm.
what? Let's just leave. Because if you're not having a good time, or I don't want to hear you moan and groan and sigh and whatever, and
Yeah.
vice versa. You shouldn't have
Yep.
to, look at me and see I'm not having a good time, because if I'm with someone or with a group of people and they're not having fun, or they're not whatever, you know what? This is a waste of my time, because I'm with a group of people who just are not feeling it.
Yep. I agree. That's a waste of time.
It
I
is. It
mean,
is.
I don't want to be at a place that I'm miserable at. I'm one of those. I'm telling you, I have a very small circle because just a lot of people just don't. I'm not a people pleaser. I don't even like people, to be honest, that much. So, like, if I'm miserable, I'm out. But I'm so dry. I'm like, look, man, you're having a good time. Shit, you stay. You're not wasting your time, but I'm wasting my time. I'm gonna go do something I want to do. We can meet up later. But instead of taking that like perfect, that's beautiful communication, they're like, oh, okay, you just want to dip on me because of look. I just don't want to sit here and be miserable and waste my time being miserable as something that I'm not enjoying. I got to, because I'm now wasting my time by giving my time to you. And I'm not blaming them because if I choose to stay, that was me, right? Not them, because they could try to guilt trip me all day. Guilt trips don't work on me very well. So
Guilt trips do not work on
no,
me on me either. Not at all. Not at all. So let me ask this, because Boss says unresolved issues. Okay, so if you have
That's not.
unresolved issues, and unresolved issues, that's kind of loaded, Bob, because unresolved issues could be a lot of different things. But if you have unresolved issues, I'm trying to figure out how I can phrase this, because again, unresolved issues can be from relationships to, a disagreement to an argument to whatever. Uh, what if it's unresolved for you, but it's not unresolved for the other person? So
Ooh, that's a good question.
so it's like, if it's unresolved for you, isn't that on you? So if why should I spend my time satisfying you, making you feel good? Because if it's unresolved and the other person's fine, whose fault is that? Is it, am I supposed to waste my time trying to coddle you? Or, I mean,
So you're like saying, like, if you came to an impasse, what I would call an impasse, and the other person still doesn't like the way it ended, but you're cool with the way it ended, whose responsibility, or is there a responsibility from one party to the other or the other to resolve that issue? And my answer to that would be, if that person, if um damn, these loaded questions. If if
he was the one that
if
brought it up.
it I know it, like, okay, let's say you're the one with the unresolved issues, the other person's like, well, I don't know what the problem is, I'm okay. It be if you care enough about that conversation and that person and maybe talking to that person again, I'm not saying agree with them, I'm not saying have another conversation, I'm not saying go back to the same conversations when I say this, okay? What I'm saying is validate their feelings, let them know that you understand what they're upset about, but it's not going to change because we're going to have to agree to disagree. I'm going to validate, I understand
But
you're
if you
upset.
have, okay. So Bob says, like, when you silence a conversation or walk away, not you, but merry go round. And hold on, I just want to say what DMAX says, crazy. But what if you do something that you're not enjoying and it's something that your son really wants you to do? Ooh, I like how you're choosing that side. I hope you
I don't know if he's
also.
talking to
I
me or
hope
you,
you
but
also flip it. Uh, agree, disagree doesn't sit. Okay, so and Bob says agree to disagree doesn't sit well with me on some issues. I admit that. Okay, so crazy. I understand what you're saying about validate, but now it sounds like, okay, so okay, crazy, I understand I understand your feelings. I totally understand your feelings, but
Mhm.
I just don't, I'm sorry, but what's the purpose of trying to validate if you spend all this time trying to validate? And
No, I mean just the feelings,
but
just
even okay,
acknowledge that they're upset, but
but even so, if a person cannot get to, okay, for instance, what Bob says, agree to disagree doesn't sit with me on some issues. Okay, but if you have some issues where the person is not agreeing with you and that person's not budging, or you are not agreeing with you, and you are not budging, I mean, then you have to
I'm done
agree
with it.
to, right? This is what I'm saying. So what are you going to do? I mean, for the next 20 years, are we going to
No.
continue to talk about the same thing? And then when people say, okay, if we cannot agree, I will drop it. But then they keep bringing it up.
Okay,
So what do you,
I get that. I understand
so
that,
is it,
right?
so is
Okay.
it wasting time? I mean,
Yes.
and me validating you. Why? I mean, I'm wasting my time trying to validate
No.
something that I don't believe. And just because your feelings, come on, what about my feelings?
See,
Or
hold
what
on,
about the
hold
next
on, hold
person's
on.
feelings?
See, hold on, solid. So that's why I tried to preface what I said with, because I knew that was going to be taken improperly. This is the only thing I mean by that. Okay, and I don't mean over and over and over again. I don't, because trust me when I tell you, I do not and will not do that. What I'll tell somebody is, look, not regardless of the subject. Okay, just totally general, what I would say is, listen, I understand that you feel a certain type of way about certain things. I do not. That is not going to change. This is the last. That for me, that's what I would say. I understand that that's a problem for you. It's not a problem for me. This is the last time I'm going to address it. Please respect that, because honestly, regardless, and I love that people are self aware, because I'm truly self aware of my toxic shit. Okay, and I do have toxic shit, but I have to take that as accountability on your part. Just because you're not okay with something that's being said and you can't get past whatever it is, that doesn't make it the other person's responsibility to keep telling you the same thing over and over again. You have to agree to disagree with people. You cannot make someone else's mind up. If you're listening, you should be listening with understanding that that is all an opinion of another person, and you can't always change that. So you need to accept things that you cannot change all the time. That is something, if I had that problem, I would internalize that and figure out how I can work on that internally. So when I said that validate a feeling, I don't mean the subject, nothing to do with the subject that you were arguing about or whatever it is. Just tell them, look, like you said, why keep coming back to it? Because it is wasting my time, and I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to tell you once, and I'm going to put my foot down. And if you have a problem with it beyond that, that now is a you problem. That is not a me problem.
Okay, so I'm just going to read what Bob says. It's not about uh, agreeables, since it's getting to the right answer. Um, haha, crazies in the middle. Sorry,
Okay.
crazy. And D says, then you guys are carrying a grudge with each other. I agree with that, D Mac. If I can't get to where you want me to be, or I know I'm never going to get to be there, that's not a grudge. I just disagree. Um, DMAX and Bob says no grudges, a friendly difference. Um, thank you, Juju. Please, yes, please hit the like button and follow if you're not already. Bob says things like I hate strawberries. They are the worst fruit on the planet. I can accept an opinion, but more serious issues I can't. Okay. DMAX says Bob is hypothetical to me. I don't. I'm
Oh,
assuming you're
she
saying
don't know
I
your
don't
history.
know your sister, your history with
Yeah.
Solid Blue Sister. Okay. I don't consider you. I don't consider what you said a okay, crazy is telling D, but I don't consider what you said a waste of time. And
It
no,
was
D, it
something that
isn't
you
it
read
isn't
earlier.
my relationship with Ba. I mean, Ba and I we disagree a lot on a lot of different things, but this is just me, just throughout my life, and for me personally, if I will not, and I don't like it when people try to take me there on what I call a
Mm-hmm.
merry-go-round, when I'm not, you know, it just never stops. And it's a waste of my time. And you would think that at some point it would be a waste of their time. So if you're not agreeing with me, or I'm, or vice versa, that's on you, because I'm fine. I'm able to say, you know what? I'm cool. Agree to disagree. Some people don't like that, but that's not my problem. That's yours. because
Yeah, that's a
because
you
at the
problem.
end
I'll be
because
honest.
at the end of the day, while you're still, sitting there going, well, damn, Solid didn't, she won't come over to my side, or crazy won't do this, whatever. I'm off doing something else. I have forgotten about it, and I am off doing something else, whatever, while you're still sitting there going, well, next time
True.
when I bring it up, whatever. And I'm like, it's done. So that's what I consider a waste of time. And and that's time that I can't get back, and I don't want to sit here and continue to argue, or go back and forth with something that, if you have an issue with it, that's on you. Just like if I have an issue with something, or something, doesn't, as Bob says, doesn't sit right with me, whatever, that's that's on me. I'm the one. If I'm feeling a certain way, those are my feelings.
Yeah,
So
right. I agree with
I'm not
that.
going to project my feelings on you. So if you get all into your feelings and your feelings get hurt, whatever, that's on you. Hell, my feelings get hurt a lot. But I don't go projecting them on other people because that's not right. So but that's just me, and it's a waste of my freaking time. Um I guess it comes back to what D Mac says, that wasted time is relative to the person.
To the person. The situation and the people involved. I mean, because like I'm with you, like I'm okay with everybody having an opinion. Everybody is supposed to have an opinion. If we all thought the same, this shit would be hella boring, okay? And we're supposed to debate and we're supposed to try to better ourselves. We're supposed to try to better our thought processes and learn things and teach each other things. But that doesn't mean that everything you say is right and everything I say is wrong, or vice versa.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest things, like, I mean, I dealt with a pretty giant ego in my my 20s. I wasn't stupid, but I was a little egotistical, and I thought I knew a lot more shit than I did. But the more you know, you find out the less you actually know. The smarter you get, you find out the less you act as time goes. Man, I really, I thought I knew, but I really don't know. And so that becomes the accountability part. Like if he says, you're that way. He knows he's that way. Guess what? You're this. Now you have to agree to be different, and it's okay. Your belief system is not my belief system. My life is my life. Your life is your life. My opinion is my opinion. And we should all be able to discuss that and be open to listening to learn. But that doesn't mean that you can't keep bringing the same shit up if that's a sticking point. You because that actually leads back to unresolved issues, but for the person that it's unresolved for. And now you need to figure out how to get past that, because we're not going to change. Now, on the other hand, what will happen is I have a friend like this, okay, and I absolutely do. And my friend will try to pull other people when other people are around. They'll be like, so I was talking to so and so about this, and their opinion is this. What do you think? So then they try to get me into that same situation through a third party, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm out. We've already, why are you trying, you and them can have that conversation. I'm out of here, because you have something that's unresolved and you're not going to make me miserable, and I'm not wasting another second talking about something that you already know how I feel about that, and it's my business.
So crazy. Let me ask this: do you think that and this is, again, I know it depends upon the person. Do you think as you age, you waste more time, or do you think you waste more time when you're younger?
Personally, I wasted a hell of a lot more time when I was younger, um, because I I look back on this and I always think I wish I hadn't, because I only really got stable in my life for real, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I made a change that changed nearly my whole life. But prior to that, I wasted so much time knowing stuff and not applying that to my life, right? Knowing better and not doing it. So I wasted a lot of time getting to a point that I got to 10 years ago, because I could have been at that point earlier. I had opportunities to be at that point earlier. I just was like, I'll do it later, or it'll be there when I come back to it or whatever. I took a lot of shit for granted and I wasted a lot of time when I was younger. So personally, in my opinion, I think you waste more time when you're younger, unless you had a proper goal and you went into that goal, right? How we talked earlier, here's the variable.
Hmm.
You went into that goal at 18, you started schooling, you went to school for a doctor, you had to do that for 10 years. You go and you do all that stuff, and then now you're 40, you're a doctor, but now you're going to waste all the you're done with that. You've had enough of it. That's the only time I think it would be the opposite direction, is what I'm trying to say. Is if you had you I don't know, married early out of high school, you got a job early out of high school, and now you want to piss your time away at a later age. Otherwise, personally, I think a lot of people waste a lot of time when they're younger trying to figure things out, but some of it is actually wasted time. It's not always learning time. People always try to say that, well, I was just learning through all that. Nah, you were wasting a lot of time. Me personally, I did.
So
I,
let me ask this. Going back to our conversation from yesterday and what Bob was saying, about marriage, that you're in it for the long haul. Um, do you think that if you're married to someone and whether it be an arranged marriage or for whatever reason you fall out of love with this person or you're just not into this person or um, like we were talking about yesterday about if you're not intimate, for whatever you don't want to be intimate with this person anymore, and
mhm.
you just don't want to be in this marriage, but you took that oath. You're in it for the long haul, and no matter how much you talk about it, whatever, it's just not getting better. Is it a waste of time to stay in that marriage?
Yes. For
Okay.
me, it absolutely would be. You know why? Because if you're miserable in something, you're gonna make someone else miserable. You cannot be miserable and fake happiness your whole life. If you if you do that, I've done this. I've been in that situation where I was miserable and I faked it, and it just I think I told you guys yesterday that I got, I basically got old before my time because I did that. I fell into a deep hole. My dad died, blah, blah, blah. Our relationship ended, a 10-year relationship where I spent a lot of wasted time that I can't get back that should have never been wasted for that. It should have been over a long time before that. I wasted a lot of time, and like, it wasn't a marriage. I've never been married or anything like that. But I just don't feel like if you guys can't work it out, if you absolutely cannot work it out, why waste the rest of the years being miserable? Because that's kind of selfish too, isn't it? To want someone else to be miserable because you made an oath on a piece of paper. There's a sanctity that you should hold if it's good, if that's what you want, that's your marriage, that's your partner, then you should hold that sanctity. But if you cannot, that's just like a job, toxic anything. It's a toxic relationship. It makes your mental health, it makes you decline. You're miserable. You can't. Why? Why? Because you can't tell me that the other person isn't miserable too. That's nearly impossible for one person to be happy and one person to absolutely hate it. You know what I mean? So I'm out. And you got to be able to say those things. You got to be able to be uncomfortable. Say the things that make you uncomfortable, and stop being miserable. I fight this all the time. I have, man. If you if you only knew like where a lot of this comes from, is just things that I worked out for myself. That's why I say I always use myself as an example, Like there's no way. That's why I will never get married. I don't want to be put in the predicament. Why? Because who knows? Who knows what's going to happen later on? And you don't have to be mortal enemies to break up either. They're like, well, you go until you hate the person.
Oh,
No, you
true,
don't have
true.
to do that. You could amicably split ways because you have open communication with somebody. If you're married to a person, you definitely should have that anyways. And if you can't talk to that person, then I, you know, I also can't be in a situation like that personally. So I don't see why would you do that? To me, that'd be a waste of my time with spending all my years being miserable or going outside the marriage, which would totally make me feel like shit because that's I made an oath to somebody. I would much rather tell them, listen, I need to break and we need to split because I'm not doing you any good and I'm not doing me any good. You're
Okay.
not blaming them,
Okay, but
right?
let me go back to yesterday's show, and Bob may seem like I'm picking on you, but I'm not. I'm just pulling out I'm pulling out parts of his of what he said. Because Bob also said, that if you had kids and if you were to get divorced, what it would do to the kids. Okay, but once again, is it wasting your but is it still wasting your time being in a marriage that you're not happy in. And if you're not happy, then that means more than likely you can fake it around your kids. But if your kids see you every
They know that
day,
shit.
right? This is what I'm saying. Kids no. So now they're miserable. Okay, here comes Bob. you know,
Okay,
he,
and I'll just before he goes on, I'll just say to that, I'm just gonna give my opinion on this just really quickly, okay?
okay.
Me and my son's father were not married, but we were together for 8 years, and that's a significant amount of time, okay? And the reason I split that was because my son stood in between us and physically separated us and was like, please stop fighting. And this boy is 4.5 years old, and I was like, no way. No way can I let him go through. And if even if I had been married to this man, I still would have left him because that relationship was not sustainable and my son would have been affected. My son is 21 now and his dad has a wonderful he has a wonderful stepmom or whatever you want to call her and all that other stuff and he's good, he's solid, but I can only imagine what it would have done to him had we stayed there and been like that. I couldn't fake being, but that's also relative to the person. That's going back relative to the person, right? I couldn't fake it. I couldn't be miserable and fake happiness even for my son because you know what my focus was on? The toxic relationship. You know what I mean? That's where my mind, he was messing with my mental health. So my parenting ability not necessarily affected because I still took care of my son, but he could tell that I was miserable regardless of how much I laughed with him, regardless of how much I played with him. So I'm just saying that every situation is different, okay? Some parents are able to stay together. I've seen it happen, stay together, be amicable for the kids, and the kids turned out great. I've also seen it the other way around, where I had friends that were like, man, I know my parents hate each other. I don't understand why they stay together. It's ridiculous. And now you're teaching them to stay in an toxic environment too, just because they have this other responsibility. So that's such a loaded question too. But me personally, I would not do it just for the kid. You can't, I don't believe in all cases that you can stay in a relationship for just because you made an oath or just because you have children. And that's just because I've seen the variables and I've
Okay.
also lived part of them. And my dad and dad got divorced and, you know, and look at me. I mean, I'm an angel. So,
All right. Well, Bob, before I pass the mic on to you, I just want to say to Frankie, thank you very much for the gifts. And crazy, Frankie sent a gift to you too.
oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
So, okay, Bob, you have the mic.
um, so, so it's funny because just before your show began tonight, I shared a video on our TikTok. I'd done a duet with this great analogy of this guy talking about handing people a glass of water but smearing some dog feces in the water. And the analogy was based on, would you drink it? And everyone's like, no. And it's like, the guy says, but come on, it's only a small bit of shit. Come on, the most 90% of it's water. It's only a tiny bit of shit. And they're like, no, I'm not taking it. And you have to get that into your mindset is, why are we accepting any shit? And I've kind of put my own twist on it by saying that our lives have been so diluted down, polluted, that we accept bullshit now. We accept mediocrity, and the marriage conversation kind of leads into that, where I know what I'm about to say to some people will sound crazy and utopian dream, and I'm off in some fairyland. But ultimately, when two people decide to take that leap of faith and get married, and they should be, you know, in that 100%, and it shouldn't turn to a hellhole where it's toxic and people, are mentally, the problem should be identified early and everything can be worked on. So that's the part that's being lost, is that people are jumping from relationship to relationship. The divorce rates is something like 4 in every 5 marriages now end in divorce. And I know this is going to sound crazy because it's just what we're used to now. And I'm not saying that back in the day that I think people did take more pride in marriage. It's obviously clear to see. And if you want to point out that maybe some women were kept as almost slave like, kept at the kitchen sink and that was their place and they were oppressed and they were property, I'm not saying that didn't exist, but I think as a whole, men and women were both more happier in the day, and marriage was a success and it was beautiful, and children were brought up with morals and went on to become better people, and there's less mental health issues because of that. It's all spiraling in a better direction, whereas now we're littered with all these issues, and I think marriage is a huge issue that could solve that.
But Bob, let me ask this. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm reading what someone says over on Facebook, and I'm not quite understanding what he says. Okay, Bob. So let me ask this. So you say back in the day, and marriage was great. How do you
Not
know
great.
that? And
No, I'm not saying great.
well, I mean, but and marriages work with. The reason why I'm asking is this.
Mm,
About 6 years ago, my neighbor um uh told me he was getting divorced. I was shocked. Then a couple of days later, his wife came over and said they were getting divorced. And I like both of them. I still talk to both of them, whatever. I was shocked. About 2 months later, another friend of mine told me they were getting divorced. I'm shocked again because here I am. I'm like, wait, well, hold on. I'm thinking these people have these wonderful marriages, whatever, and they're divorced. 5 people that year that I knew told me they were getting divorced, and they did. From the
mhm,
outside looking in, it was great, but apparently
mhm,
it wasn't. So when you say back in the day, people may have stayed married, but how do you
mhm.
know their marriage was a good marriage? You're assuming maybe because the divorce rate was not as much as it is now. But are they staying married because for the children? Are they staying married for financial reasons? Are they staying married because they don't want their parents to know, or they don't want to hear it from their family? How do you know that marriage was good?
I mean, the obvious reason is just what you said, the success rates of marriage. And I
No,
know,
I
I
didn't
mean,
say the
I could
success
also,
rates of marriage. I'm saying that they may have stayed married, but doesn't mean that their marriage was a successful marriage. Just because they did not get the divorce does not
mhm.
mean that there were other things going on. I mean, because even now, you hear of people who have been in marriages where either the husband's beating up the wife, or maybe the wife's beating up the kids, or whatever. You don't know what goes on
Yeah.
behind closed doors.
Yeah, but I mean, the opposite is the same. You don't know that they weren't happy. And I
True,
mean,
true, true,
I thought about
true.
this as well. I would love to have maybe even this is a friendly differences show, but I would love to sit with a 90-year-old woman and ask how she felt. And I know it's only one person, but I genuinely believe, like, I used to have great conversations with my great grandma. She was 97 when she passed, and even like, I know this is going to sound terrible, but she was a stay-at-home mom. She put 3 meals on the table. She raised the kids, and I never heard her once moan about that, because I know it's kind of frowned upon, like gender roles, that the woman stays home, and that's not the way in 2022 or whatever. But back then, women didn't see it that way. That this whole oppression thing.
you're assuming that you are assuming that you don't know. People may not have moaned and groaned and groaned maybe in front of other people, but you don't know if they went home at night and they were just miserable. You don't know if they went to
Well,
bed at night and they were crying, or going to their sister or their mother, or
mhm.
or or if a man was going to his father, whomever, saying, I cannot stand this woman. I mean, I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of assumptions. So
Well, what about
Uh,
the alternatives to, like you're saying, staying together and not being happy, or leaving that relationship. And let's face it, the alternative is going through the cycle again and finding someone else again, and then usually 5 6 years later the same issues arise, because I mean that's been my cycle. I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, I've been with 4 or 5 women for lengthy periods of time, and I'm only 34, and it's usually about the 4 or 5 year mark where the cracks start to appear. And I've been the type of guy. I mean, I'm not being cocky, or I have my faults, but I hate splitting up with someone and knowing that I'm just going to go into the cycle again of meeting someone great for the first year, great for the second, and it starts to fade, and then it's like when that 4 or 5 year mark hits, the same cycles appear. So this is why I do put the emphasis on marriage. It's not really a passion. I'm only talking about it because it's kind of appeared on your show a couple of times, and you've asked me, tonight a little bit about it. But I do think that mentality, and even right now, like I'll say, I'm married. I've been married for 4 years, and I would dread being divorced. Like, it would be a real, I would hate it. It would be something that I would live with in shame. I would hate to tell my grandparents, look, my wife and I are having to get a divorce. My friends, I'd be embarrassed. And that is a good thing. And no, I'm not saying that I would stay with my wife if I was unhappy, but if I ever did become unhappy, I would talk to her and I would say, look, we need to sort this. We need to solve it because it's driving a wedge. Counseling, there's always that option. And I think people are not choosing to do those things. They're not talking. They're not even. It's just because there's alternative options there. There's always these dating apps to fall back on. There's always someone there at the shop giving you a smile and making you feel great when you should be going home and talking to your significant other.
Okay, and I know Crazy is
Ooh, I'm itching.
she's chopping at the bit. Bar. I have no idea what she's gonna say, but Crazy, go
All right.
ahead.
So I'm about to pick a couple things apart. One thing that you said, that right now you feel like there's always an alternative. And I just want to point out that back in the day, there was always an alternative. It just wasn't online. It was a bar, a club, a strip club, a friend's house, a party. So there still was that opportunity. So that was just something that in my head I was thinking opportunities have always been there. I feel like I don't know that if people, I don't know that they cherished the sanctity of marriage more, or just didn't want to be alone, or I personally feel like the same issues existed, just this different scenarios. So yeah, okay, you probably lived on a ranch back. Okay, I'll use my grandparents as an example. Okay, my grandparents did not talk to each other at all. They lived on a farm. There was no opportunity for either one of them because everybody in that town was related. So there was no opportunity to go outside of that. But that being said, if there had been opportunity, would it have happened? Probably. You see what I'm saying? So like, and I'm using them as an example. Back in the day, they got married, they stayed married, but they were miserable. My grandfather said this later in life. He's like, I just stopped talking to her one day and never talked again. I just agreed. Basically, she did whatever she wanted because that's the only way I could live life. But he just did it because he was farmer. He did it or whatever. That was just something that they felt like they had to do. That doesn't mean that they weren't miserable, because they were definitely miserable. You know what I mean? And it didn't help any of the children in that situation. They stayed together all that time, but they knew they hated each other. The children were always fighting. I mean, my family is very dysfunctional, super dysfunctional. So, like that, just to those couple of points. But the other thing, and I wanted to pick on you just a little bit, but I don't know you that well, but I'm just gonna pick on you for just a second. So you said you have all these great values and all these great beliefs, which I'm not knocking you for any of that. That's wonderful. Believe what you want. But you just said that you have fallen into also a vicious cycle pattern or whatever and whatnot, right? So how come your belief system and your values and your this or that has not saved you from not falling into that pattern?
Yeah, I mean, all sorts of reasons. Like, my fault is being too content, maybe lazy to a fault, and obviously immaturity. When I was younger in my early 20s, I had a 4-year relationship, and then I went to another 4-year relationship, and I think that's too young. I wish I'd had a father figure that had told me to kind of enjoy myself and do some boy stuff and go boy holidays and that kind of thing, and then maybe try and settle down at my late 20s, early
Oh, you're
30s.
wild oats.
uh, yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there are lots of examples, but I mean, I'm not going to blow my head off, but I think that it's I would have been the type of guy that would have fallen in love at 15, 16 with the same girl and tried to stay with her my whole life. I was a bit of a romanticist or whatever it is, but obviously finding that in today's age, especially my era, with again, I do seem to rant on about dating apps and the way that the world is, that it feels like there's always someone that's bigger and better at the end of a phone. And you're always having to compete with that. Whereas I do kind of push back on what you're saying. I'm talking about way back. I'm talking about like the early 1900s, probably even like World War II times, that men and women were like, I know this is going to be a triggering statement, but like my biggest pet peeve, and I could rant about this shit for days, is the women that I have had on my Facebook. I'm from a small town, so it's pretty much everyone knows everyone, and the amount of women that I see typing on their Facebooks on a daily basis is, where are all the good men? Where are all the gentlemen? And it's like, well, you want a gentleman, you have to act like a lady. And there's, GP Man was quite good on this subject on a previous show, and I kind of side with him on that, where the values, most women, you look at their Instagrams, and I know it sounds as if I'm beating on women, but men are like this too. But you look on their Instagrams, and it's just selfie after selfie after selfie. All they want to do is go out Friday, Saturday, Sunday night and get drunk, and there's no, core values there. And that's just the way the world is. So when I try and find a woman, I look at their Instagram, I see if they're, you know, what kind of values they have and all that, and that's becoming harder to find. So, I'm, as I say, I'm not perfect, but
So,
I,
but
I do try.
let me ask this. So, those previous relationships, do you think they
Mhm.
were a waste of your time?
Ooh, that's a question I've never really been asked before.
Got him.
I mean, the old saying is like you should never have regrets because they teach you things and it molds you into the person you've become. But my mind wants to say yes because I think I could have obviously built a better relationship with one person and been further down the line. And my biggest, you asked a question on, I think it was yesterday's show, Solid. You asked people on your panel, what do you want to achieve before you die? And mine's was going to be, I just want to feel settled. And I know it's, oh, bah, but I've always felt that that stereotype of having a home and two cars in the driveway and a couple of kids and a wife and just being settled and feeling content. And I'm now 34 years of age, and I'm still not there. I've got the wife ticked off, but I don't have the home, and we don't even know where we're going to be staying in the next few months and all that kind of stuff. So just to feel content and happy, I would say. I mean, I'm not happy, but I'm certainly a while off of being content.
Okay. I mean, and I don't think there's a because I was in a 5 year relationship that was a complete, total, total waste of my time. Just a waste of my time. And, and
Mm.
sometimes just looking back at it, it's like I still, and this was like, you know, years and years and years ago, how just my father even told me, why are you with this person? He is a waste of your time. And he was a total waste of my time. But I will say this, you know having lived a certain amount of years, and
Mm.
I have met a lot of people, and I have talked to a lot of people who have been in and out of relationships, people who are single, people who are married, people who have been divorced. And one thing that I have learned and this is just from what I've seen. I don't know the numbers or anything, so I'm not going to quote any data. But it seems like men are more content than women. It seems like that
Yeah.
when people get divorced, that it seems like women will, if a woman tells a man that she wants a divorce, they're usually surprised. And I think that men tend to be more content than women. And that's
Mhm.
why, when I say, even when you were saying, back during World War II or the 19 hundreds, whatever, um, people may have stayed together, but how do you know how happy these people were? Because a lot of times people stay together out of necessity. And if staying
I
together
think
out of necessity, is that happiness? Is that a waste of time?
because you know how it's kind of been demonized, that whole gender role thing where the woman stayed home. How about you put a different spin on it and say that, it was more like a partnership? And I know that's not very romantic to hear, but at the same time, when I've always said that, when it comes to this subject, that I would happily be a stay-at-home dad and make 3 meals a day, look after the kids. I know it's not an easy job, I'm not saying that, but I would do it because I think if someone is doing that and you see it more like a partnership, and there's less room for arguments. A lot of the arguments that people have nowadays are petty bullshit, like, oh, did you pay the bill? Did you go down the road today and pay the bill? Did you have you not made any food? No. What have you been up to? If all that's taken care of, there's more time to enjoy each other. And that was more like, I know, like I'm the one that's, all airy fairy and try to think of a utopian, but at the same time, we know for the first few years it's all honeymoon period, but that does die down a little. And then obviously after that, you both have to realize that it's more of a partnership. And then even in later life, when you hit 60, 70, when you talk about, is it really worth meeting people again at that age, and it's more about companionship. That's all I'm saying, is like, when the honeymoon period drops, even in in your 30s maybe, that you have to see it as like a partnership, working together as a team and getting through life as a team. There's nothing more beautiful than that. So instead of
But don't you
demonizing
think?
it
But
and saying that
okay,
men,
but Bob, don't you think
help.
that I mean, I say this. I mean, I say this because I'm thinking about the Bob and I did a show 2 weeks ago where it was just the two of us of chat, just the two of us talking. And I am going to bring this up because this sounds just like you and this perfect kid that that your kid is going to grow up to be this perfect
Yeah.
kid if you just do this and this and this. And I have
Mm.
to say, I mean, I believe that people have wonderful marriages. I believe that there are some people out there who their marriages are just really really good. Are they perfect? No. But one thing that I do think, um, you know, you don't know what's going on in someone's mind. You may think that your significant other is telling you everything and pouring out their heart to you, whatever, but they still have a
Mm.
brain that they can have their own personal thoughts, whatever. And they could just, while you're saying, well, we can talk and we can do this, whatever. How do you know that this person that you're saying, well, if we just sit down and talk and we do this, and this, then we can resolve everything? How do you know that, even though you all are talking, that the other person is happy, or they're,
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying that I think that you do live in this utopia that that you know that back in the day everything was great, and
yeah,
now
but
it it
but
it,
you
it it isn't. But I mean, because you don't know what's, like I said, you don't know what's going on behind somebody else's closed door.
yeah,
That's
but
all I'm saying.
see that point I made about marriage success rate being like, let's say in the 1940s, it was like, 1 in every 5 marriages ended in divorce, and now it's 4 in every 5. So for you to say that that's not a good marker to show that
I'm
marriages are
not
good or
saying
not.
it's not a good marker, Bob. What I'm saying is, did people stay together? Were they really successful
Well, yeah.
marriages? So,
Well,
okay, put it like this. Are you saying that it was successful because they did not get divorced? or was
Yeah,
it,
well, that's
or
what I'm
was
saying.
it
That's what I'm
successful
trying to
because these
say.
people are like, were they truly happy? Did they stay together out of necessity, or
Well,
did they
that's what I'm
stay
saying.
together because they truly wanted to be together?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to ask you, do you believe then that women or men back in those days were maybe scared or didn't feel that they could get divorced? Like because that basically says that now in 2022 people have either less care or they feel more empowered to get divorced, whereas then they weren't. And if that's the case, that's a different subject altogether. But I
Well,
think
yes,
that
yes, yes, because I think back in the day there were just things you just did not talk about out loud. There were things that you just didn't do. I mean, there were things like, I mean, a divorced woman, she was like, "Oh my God, Miss, did you hear yet?" And they're whispering whatever. Now they don't do that. There was just certain things that you just did not
Mhm,
do. So do
mhm,
I think that it's possible that did? Absolutely. Yes.
mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and crazy,
I mean, there's
I'm sorry, Bob. I know crazy wants to get in here,
yeah.
but go ahead, Bob. Go ahead, and I know you're gonna
No, I was just
push
saying
back on me
that
some more.
there's a there's a lot of there's a big argument to be had about what was a better way of life, and I know this topic can kind of get a bit heated because it's like almost like, especially when it's a man telling a
No,
woman, it's almost
I'm
like the
not heated
oppressive.
out.
But
I'm just saying
no, no,
that
I know,
there's
I
just
know.
both. I'm
Yeah,
just saying that you don't know what goes on behind
yeah,
closed doors, because
yeah.
people. I said something to someone the other day, and they were like, "Really? I've known you
Mhm,
all this time, and I never knew that." And I know
yeah.
they didn't, because I don't tell everybody
So
everything. So I'm just saying, you don't
so
know
can I ask?
what's going on.
So can I ask? See the stereotypical gentleman, like what was it? Is it Downtown Abbey, the Mr. Darcy kind of figure? Is it those types of men are the men that women of now like think about, dream about? And why is that? Because they were gentlemen, they dressed well, they spoke well, they treated their women well,
I
and
think
then
most
you're
women dream about that, just like most men want to have this virginal fairy tale woman, and I don't think there's anything
Mhm,
wrong with that. I'm just saying that realistically, in real life, you don't know what is going on behind closed doors. Again, people can have
mhm,
a great marriage. They can be married for 70 years. I mean, hell, I mean, Rosalind and Jimmy Carter have Jimmy Carter have been married for over 70 years. On the outside, they look great, but who knows? Who
mhm.
who knows? I mean, I'm just saying,
Yep.
living with somebody for a long, that's a long ass time to be with the same
Mhm,
person. So I'm not saying that their marriage is bad, but I'm just saying you just don't know. You just don't
mhm.
know. So crazy.
Look, this is one of those topics you can go around on, but if like just me listening to the whole, you guys, and everybody does this. Okay, I'm not picking on you guys in particular. Contradicted yourself in some ways, and you know why? Because nothing is set in stone ever. Everything has a possibility to be different, change, or otherwise. When you said, the one thing that I'll say that I typed it in the chat so I wouldn't forget it, was that, oops, I guess it got pushed up a little bit. You said that everything. I believe you said that everything can be worked on, like, or you can. I
Are you
I
talking
don't
about, are you
believe
talking
that.
to me, or you're talking to
No,
Bob?
to Boz. So
Okay.
he said something about, that issues can be worked on, but let's go back to case in point, your relationships and mine too, okay, didn't work out because there were things that could not be worked on. It is, you can come to an impasse. It does not have to be one way or another. Like if you make a valiant effort, right? And you've made that valiant effort and you just come to an impasse. You have to, and this happened to me recently, okay, and it was really tough because it's a part of being going into something that's out of your comfort zone, being uncomfortable, doing certain things or whatever, like I had to make a conscious decision of whether I was going to be willing to keep going and deal, or if I was going to be like, all right, well, I just got to say that's it. And maybe later on we can work on it, but right now it's an impasse, right? So I don't believe everything can be resolved. I just don't. Um, just like earlier when you said unresolved issues, because one party is unresolved, the other party is not. So, like you can all the core values and all the morals and all the whatever beliefs that you have and stuff isn't going to make a situation in real life not be that way. And I don't believe that through the course of history that the changes, I don't believe that people stayed together because they were happy. They probably stayed together because they had to, or because of the kids, or they didn't have a financial way to not be in that place, or and a lot of that I'm going to say falls back on the women, because women were, whatever, homemakers, stay at home moms, whatever, which is fine. That's what you want to do. More power to you. I don't care. That's your business. I don't necessarily think that made. I don't. I don't think any of the changes over the periods of time of all this time, from whether it's the 1800s to now, has anything to do with people having options versus not options. We're looking, because, and I'm going to make a point as to something that you specifically said, that people are always looking for something better. If you are not satisfied in your situation and you're looking outside of that for something better, then you shouldn't be in that situation, because you're making that person feel like they have to compete. You know what I mean? And that's, so now you're making them miserable because of that. So, like, I think that they've had the same beliefs as you, same core values, same systems. You want it to be that way. You want to be able to do that. You want to make, you want that relationship. We all do. I do too. Okay. But you do have to work at it 100%. But I do believe that there's just some things that you cannot resolve, because we're human. We're all different. And sometimes it's just like that. And you change over time too. How do you expect someone in more power to people that stayed in love for 75 years and they lived together 75 years and they were in love that whole time and they never had a problem? Look, more power to you. I think that's a beautiful thing. I also think it's a beautiful thing when people stay together for 75 years and do work at it, because love isn't enough. You have to work at everything. You absolutely have to make a valiant effort. I just don't believe that it has anything to do with outside your relationship. And I'm just, in my opinion, which means I shouldn't have been looking outside to begin with. I shouldn't, I, that's just my thoughts on that, because I still feel like even back in the day, there were still ways to go outside of that. I'm sure people still cheated on each other. I'm sure people still went outside their marriage. I'm sure all those things still happened. People didn't talk about it. One, because there wasn't social media to post it on for everybody to be up on your business. And the other thing is people minded their damn business a lot more back then than they do now. But that also resulted in people not getting the help they needed because nobody said anything. They just let it happen. They just let people live. So that you're looking at pros and cons from then to now. I don't think that the dynamic of a relationship has changed. I think that society, maybe morals are a little bit less, but are they? Right? You're looking based on what you think it might be your statistics on marriage or failed marriages versus successful marriages. I don't think that's a thing personally, because like a successful marriage doesn't mean I just have to agree with Solid on this, is just because they were married all that time doesn't mean it was successful. Someone could have been miserable that whole time thinking they were wasting all those years and they were doing something that you had no clue about anyways. You know what I'm saying? I know people that have two families, like, and they don't know about each other. When I find stuff out like that, I don't mess with people like that, because I think that's super shady and disgusting behavior. But like, that's just a reality. And that was before the time of social media. That was before the time of saying that we all have all these options. But you did have the options because there's your neighbors, there's strip clubs, there's bars, there's
Okay,
saloons,
crazy.
there's yeah,
Can I interrupt for a moment because
yeah, sure.
Boss says is happiness a way of evaluation whether a marriage is successful or not? I say death do us part. But so okay. First of all, I have to say that we're winding down. I hate to push it to the 2 hour mark, but would you want to be with someone who was unhappy just as long as it's till death do us part?
But
Wouldn't
see,
you?
this is where I'm laughing because you're making out that I'm in some airy fairy utopian, but you're trying to say that it's possible to be happy all the way to 80, 90 years of age.
No,
Like
no,
that's
no. I am not saying
inconceivable.
that. I'm just saying, but like Crazy said that you can be in a marriage and you're miserable the entire time, and you're saying is happiness
Well,
and
then you shouldn't have
evaluation.
married that person.
But shouldn't you be happy
But
some during the marriage? Shouldn't there be
Well, of
some?
course, or else why would you take that oath with someone that doesn't might
but you
not
would.
look after
How did
like
you know though?
because you've surely you
I mean,
vet
I'm
your
throwing
your
that out there.
you surely you vet your potential life partner. You don't just marry them after a week. Like I know people have done that and it's been a success, but like there's no law against like being dating and being engaged for like years and then deciding to go get married. Like and this
Oh,
is why it is a huge problem, and I've ignored red flags plenty of times. I'm a man, and I've seen past things that maybe I shouldn't have pursued the relationship because maybe she looks good, and that's the problem with society. Again, they're overlooking red flags and then 4 years down the line saying, "Oh, I didn't see that coming," and it's like, well, you kind of did because you know what his family's like and you know what he does when he's with his friends, so you kind of did, but it's blinded. Love is blind.
can I just throw something out there real quick about this? I just want
Yep.
to point out something here. I believe, just in my wholehearted opinion, that people can change for the right person. Okay, I don't believe that someone who has I'm gonna tell you from personal experience. Okay, I have toxic behavior. I have things that I'm extremely self aware of. That doesn't make it an excuse, but those are things that I have to work on all the time. If there's somebody that you want to be with, that's why when you said that you look at people's Instagrams and stuff to see, I don't, because that's if you looked at my Instagram, you'd be like, oh man, this, because I throw all kinds of knowledgeable crap out there that I probably either do or don't follow or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or a lot of stuff that I did wrong that I'm just like, you know, that's me or whatever. A person can change for the right person. So even if you vet a person, right? I'm not saying ignore what you think are red flags or um, triggers or whatever. Keep that in the back of your mind. But if that person truly becomes a part of your life and loves you, they have the opportunity. You have to be open minded to this. The opportunity for them to change, for them to work on their own toxic behavior, right, and become the person that you want them to be, or they want to be for you. That's kind of hard to describe, but and I know this because I've done that. You know, I know in my relationships, I know the ones that I did change for and the ones I didn't change for. You know, because it wasn't really something I wanted. It was just something I did because I was lonely, I was filling a void, whatever the case may be, right? My old toxic stuff, which I don't do that. I haven't, not in this past relationship, but my one before that taught me a lot of really hard lessons on that. So,
Crazy. I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm getting my two
no,
minute
that's good.
warning. So I'll let Ba I'll let you have the last word. And Crazy, I will say we are going to be doing, Ba and I are going to be doing a relationship show on friendly differences. And girl, you better make time to be on that show. So, Ba, I'm giving you the last word.
No, I've really enjoyed the show. This is a subject we could have probably went on and on about, but I enjoy them. I think it's something that I'm pretty passionate about, even though I'm settled and married now and happily married. It is a topic that a lot of people, including my friends, are all struggling with. It's something that, because I'm from a small town, I see a lot, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I hope, Crazy, you make that show, because I've really enjoyed listening to you tonight, and another great show. Thanks, Solid.
Okay. So tomorrow, guys, I do have a show posted. Um, but my neighbor and I are working on an arts and crafts for my garden. So hopefully I will make the show tomorrow. If not, I will cancel it. But I do plan on being here tomorrow. So Crazy, thank you so much for coming up and talking for the majority of the show. Bob, thank you for popping up, and everybody in the chat. DMAC, you have been very chatty. Juju, thank you for being my admin, and Frankie, thank you. And Frankie and who was that? Power Girl. Thank you for the gifts, and everyone. Thank you so much for the likes. You guys helped me get over that 100,000. I appreciate it so much. And Angie, Juju, Bob, Power Girl, Crazy Train, Shelby Jack was here. Alpha Mike was here. Jester was here. Thank you so much. So on that note, I do hope to see you tomorrow. As always, go where the wind takes you. Bye. And Crazy, when are your shows? I was seeing it in the chat. Is that Sundays?
Oh, so I do a really dumb show on Saturday nights. It's really just music, and I'm usually drinking and singing karaoke, and it's a lot of BS. Me and my old man are usually on, and then like just whoever pops in.
Okay.
I think you've come in there before.
Yeah.
I could tell you that if you don't mind, we were supposed to start a show this week, but we're not going to. But Coltrane and Train Records Entertainment's about to start a segment, and it's going to be it was supposed to start tomorrow, probably will be next week or so.
Okay. And it's
now that's going to be a serious show. That's not going to be one of my
Coltrane.
BS stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, on that note, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day or evening wherever you are in the world.